You are listening to the Add Water and Stir podcast, where we have candid conversations about fostering, adopting, and parenting children of color. I am adopted Black mom of the blog of the same name.
And I'm Mimi from the blog MimiRobinsonOnline.com.
If you are new to our show, please check out all of our previous episodes on our website, www.addwaterandStirpodcast.com, or iTunes or Stitcher or your favorite podcast app. So you are lucky folks. You've tuned into our special series on the show. This is us, and today we're talking about Season 2, Episode 3, Deja Vu. So the show synopsis is Kate visits Kevin on the set of his new movie. Randall and Beth get exciting news, and Rebecca tries to reconnect with Jack. So, Mimi, what do you think about Episode 3?
This was interesting because, as you know, I'm pretty hard on Kevin, but we got to see a little bit of Kevin, you know, where he's having, you know, challenges in terms of his dad. And I liked seeing the beginning of this relationship that they're going to be building with their foster child, Randall and Beth.
Yeah. All right. So, did you? Are we sticking with our typical ranking of storylines?
I feel like Rebecca and Jack's story was pretty. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I read some other reviews of the show, and it was interesting because one of the criticisms about Jack and Rebecca's storyline right now is that it's constantly a retread, that they have a conflict. I mean, and this is the nature of the show, right? Where there's a conflict and then there's solutions, and then yay, we're all kind of, you know, wrapped up with some type of bow at the end. But theirs is a little bit sappy, despite the fact that the things that they're dealing with are a little bit more complex than, you know, some problems. But anyway, all right, so let's start there. So Jack is trying to stay sober, and he's working really hard, and he's working his program and his little steps. He's trying to be a good husband and a good father. Rebecca is still, you know, feeling some kind of way, but she loves her husband. But they haven't, you know, gotten down in a long time, and she is feeling some kind of way about that. And she is talking to who? She's talking to
Miguel's wife. I was like, what? Miguel's ex-wife. Anyway,
because I'll take your man. Right? I'm like, there's this
situation is not correct.
Too much confiding with these couples. I just need people to kind of
well, you know, at this point in time, they are married couple friends, right?
Yes.
For a married couple, this is the ideal situation. The two guys get along and the two women get along, and then all the families can stay together. Like, I'm constantly searching for this. However, we see how it turns out, which makes me a little leery now. Like, maybe I don't need any friends.
No new friends.
Nope. Okay.
Anyway, so Rebecca sees how much, you know, how all of this has really kind of also affected Jack's self-esteem. He's kind of in the dumps. He's just keeping his head down and working really hard. So she resolves that she's going to change that by doing a Jack. Like, so Jack is really famous for these big sweeping gestures. So Rebecca resolves that she's going to sweep Jack off of his feet the way that he does for her. He kind of, you know, and of course the sweeping of the feet was all, you know, yeah, we'll spend this quality time, but yeah, it's going down tonight. Like, it's going down tonight. And Jack is like, yeah, no, I'm not. I'm kind of in my feelings and I'm struggling. And we also see that these issues with parents are generational, right? And he is really kind of freaking out because he's realizing that maybe he might be more like his father than he wanted to be. And that is, like, you know, kind of a mood killer. Yeah. There are no ants in the pants. But eventually they reconnect and they end up sitting in the car and talking and, you know, having a really nice date night, but it doesn't seem like there's really any brown chicken, brown cow.
Yeah.
There's still no brown chicken, brown cow.
Is that a DC thing? I have never heard that before. Is that like brown chicken, wah,
Yeah,
brown chicken,
brown cow. Brown chicken, brown cow.
That's cute. but weird, but cute. Like,
So
but
anyway,
Rebecca,
yeah.
that was cool that Rebecca was able to keep her calm because Rebecca put on some makeup, had her hair brushed. I'm sure she was smelling good and everything. Now, why she decided they was gonna have brown chicken, brown cow in the car, I don't know. Maybe their car is a little bit different than the ones we have right now.
Well, they got the station wagon,
Okay.
and those cars didn't have bucket seats.
Okay. Well, she tried it and he said no. And I would have been in my feelings. Like, you know what? I don't know what you're going through right now, but
I'm gonna need you to break me off some.
yes, a little something, something.
So yeah, there still was no breaking
Oh,
of anything,
mm-mm.
but I will say that it does seem like they at least kind of connected emotionally, and Jack seemed to feel better,
Yeah.
that he wasn't so distant and he wasn't alone in his feelings. So yay him.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to Kate and Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Kevin is finally shooting his Ron Howard movie in LA, the movie that he moved back to film. And it turns out that Sylvester Stallone is in the movie. And so Kevin and Kate are totally geeked by this. And Kevin introduces Kate to Sly, and she goes like total fangirl. Like she starts reciting Rocky and like singing the song and like dun, 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 and just the whole bit. And Sly's had some work done, so his face doesn't move quite as
He was looking awfully tan though. I was like,
it's not tan, it's called preserved. That's what
is that what it was? I was like, you're looking awfully brown.
but he kind of has had, you can tell he's had a little something done, so that there's a perpetual kind of small surprise on his face. But he seems like totally touched that Kate is like, oh my God, I've met my dad's idol and it's so awesome. And he's like, oh, wow, that's so cool that your dad is a super fan and everything. You should bring him by the set, fly him out or whatever. And she's like, oh yeah, he's dead. And he's been dead. He's like, oh well.
Yeah.
That's really bad. So later in the trailer, I think that as it turns out, Kevin is playing Sly's son in the movie. And so he uses this as this kind of bonding moment to kind of, talk to Kevin and about the moment that he shared and how, it was so nice that his father loved his movie so much, and, maybe he should draw from that in the movie. Well, that does not go over well. And it sends him into this emotional spiral. And so they're supposed to be doing this scene, and he keeps flubbing his lines. He can't quite get it together. He can't focus. He's having flashbacks of Jack. And, it's, by take, I don't know, 57, and they still haven't gotten it.
Right.
It is clearly a problem, and we see really that Kevin has some daddy issues. Everybody got issues, right? But they all have issues, unique issues with their parents. And Kevin's got some real big daddy issues.
I like that Kate pushed him to talk about it a little bit. It seemed, basically she said, it seems like every time somebody brings up dad, you have a problem. You don't want to talk about it. And she tries to give him some advice that, when she was going through when she started going to a therapist and trying to lose weight, she learned from her therapist that if she didn't take the time to talk and work through those issues that she had around their dad and their dad's death, that she wouldn't be able to heal herself, and that Kevin needs to do the same thing. And Kevin is pushing back on it and is not willing to talk about it and doesn't think he has a problem. But it seems like after he, hurts his knee on the set, and he calls Kate, and it's cute. They have a really tight relationship, but he calls Kate and kind of admits that, I'm struggling with that.
So, in the final scene of his story arc this week, we see him popping some pain pills, and there's kind of like this ominous kind of, you know, thing that maybe it's foreshadowing a third generation of potentially some addiction issues, because this is a knee that we find out Kevin injured during high school and apparently had to have surgery on it. And during a scene, he is having to run in front of the green screen all through, I don't know, rockets and artillery fire or whatever. It's a war movie, and like he ends up, I guess it's like he's supposed to run over this ditch, but he essentially runs into the ditch and bangs up his knee. So it also is not clear, like, I'm guessing he's probably going to lose the movie because his knee is all banged up. I don't know, something, there's always something. But we do see him. Yeah, but there is a really deliberate scene where we see him popping pain pills. And while it's probably not a problem now, we do know that his father and grandfather certainly had issues with alcohol. So, dum.
Yes, he may just have an addictive, gene personality.
Right. All right. So, Randall and Beth. So these two have apparently gone through, in a week's time, a couple months passed. In TV land, I don't know, 6 months have passed, who knows? But they've gone through all of the paperwork and the screening, and now they are certified foster parents. And Randall is antsy because I guess they haven't got the call
yet. It's been a week. I think it's been a week since that. Which, first of all, this is absolutely true, because when you get your paper, you're certified. You're like, so I'm ready. And so I can understand Randall's feeling antsy about it, getting a placement.
So as they're talking about it, the call comes.
Yes.
And it turns out they're going to get a placement for an African-American girl who's named Deja, and she is 12. And you can only imagine, I was all in on this episode. This was my life, right? And so anyway, in a wonderful, wonderful scene, they show the show shows Deja's arrival from her perspective, and the camera angle is amazing. It's blurry. It's just really a great scene that if you haven't seen the show yet, or even if you've seen it, it's worth kind of going back just to look at the scene where the door opens and she enters Randall and Beth's home. So there's too much to take in. It's blurry. There's all kinds of emotion, and she's just completely overwhelmed. And
in fact, so overwhelmed that she just tells them that she wants a bed. She just want to go to bed.
She just wants to go to sleep.
I'm done. I cannot deal with all these people waving signs at me and showing me where snack drawers are. Like, a snack drawer? What? Right. Y'all have a snack drawer just for snacks? So it's just too much happening.
It's too much. And, it's having gone through this from the parenting perspective of welcoming a 12-year-old girl into my home, it just, oh man, it just tugged at my heart so hard, because I just remember, and even now to this day, when Hope gets overwhelmed, that's her go-to. I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to go to sleep. It's almost like I need to give my brain a chance to just catch up and rest. And so anyway, we have a lot of things like fear manifesting as anger, and she's just a fragile little girl. So, they're kind of getting settled, and Beth seems to, she's
Wait a minute.
unpacking.
Before we get to that, I want to talk about Randall talking to the caseworker. So, so it is very quick. They come in, introduce the caseworker's like, okay, well, her stuff is going to come next week, and I'll let you guys get settled. And Randall's like, is that all? Like, you just dropping this kid
by the kid?
Yes. And then he follows the caseworker out. He's like, I think something's wrong with her. She's broken. And the caseworker is like, yes, there is something wrong with her. She has just been taken away from her family, and then now she's expected to stay with strangers. She's not okay. And I really appreciate the caseworker
Mhm.
not using that as like, oh, she'll be fine, it'll be good. No, she
Yeah.
makes it clear like this is a challenging and traumatic time for her and she's not okay. So you just need to understand that and you have to deal with that. So I
Right.
appreciated that piece of it.
And then she was like, I'm out.
Yes. See you later.
Oh yeah, and you'll get her full file like I don't
Next
know in a
week.
couple of days or whatever. Yeah, it's like they get the briefest amount of information about her and kind of why she's in care. And so they're getting trying to get settled. Beth attempts to unpack her few little belongings from a plastic bag.
Mm-hmm.
And then she finds these cigarettes, and it's like, oh my gosh, she's got cigarettes. And she's got cigarettes. What are we gonna do? And Deja comes in and like goes, nah, you go with my
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Like, I only have like I don't have any privacy. I don't have any of my stuff. This is mine. And
Mm-hmm.
she reacts really forcefully. And Randall comes in to diffuse the situation. And it is immediately clear that Deja is terrified and that she's terrified that she's also going to be physically
Mm-hmm.
punished in this moment. And both Randall and Beth kind of do a full stop, like, oh, but it's Randall's face is just like, whoa, she's afraid of me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
she's afraid of me. Like, no, it's just
Mm-hmm.
heartbreaking. So they have a bit of a cool down period. And then, Randall and Beth sit down with Deja to kind of talk to her about what's going on and how their house works a little bit. And Randall shares his own adoption story, which is really, really, really moving. And he talks about essentially living this dual life, right? This kind of the life that he lives. He's very much a Pearson. Those are his parents. Here's some pictures, but he knows what it's like to be separated, and to be looking. And it's a really important moment as he tells his version of his story.
Right. And it's a way to connect. I think because, and we didn't talk about what happened with Deja and the kids, but the, Deja is overwhelmed by their lifestyle, right? So that night before Randall and Beth and Deja have a conversation about what happened that night before, Beth has calmed her down and kind of said, we're not going to do this tonight. We'll talk about it in the morning. But
Yeah.
she brings out this baby monitor. What was funny to me is that Randall's like, "Oh, you bringing out the baby monitor to put in the kids' room so they can hear what's going on." So Randall's like, "You didn't even bring out the baby monitor when William came to stay." And Beth's like, "Oh, I didn't." And I'm like, "I'm sure Beth did. She just didn't tell you because she wanted to make sure that William wasn't rolling up into her girl's room. She didn't know him, but anyway." So Deja goes into the girl's room in the middle of the night, and she kind of wakes them up, and she's trying to get a lay of the land, like who's really in charge. And they tell her, they both are, but Beth is really in charge. Like, so if I break the rules, what happens? They're like, well, you're gonna get talked to, and then you lose your iPad privileges, and that just blows her mind. Like, first that you have both have iPads, and then that's the punishment. That
Right.
you're not going to get hit, you're not going to get spanked, you're not going to get yelled at, you're just going to get talked at and then lose a privilege. So
Right.
what's really cute in this instance is the little girl, I think her name is Tess, has a flashback to when William was leaving.
Yeah.
William, the first night that William stayed, and William had a challenge kind of just like Deja. It was a new place, he was unsure, and Tess had told him in just little cute girl talk that one time she went over a friend's house and she was scared, and her parents brought her home, but she was sad because she wished she had powered through that and stayed because it would have been fun, and won't William stay. And then William did, and then everything turned out well for them in terms of the relationship. So she's also telling Deja that Deja can stay too, and it's okay that she's scared. And I think it's really cute that they're starting to have this little
Yeah.
kid conversation, without the
Yeah.
parents, to
Yeah.
say, like, I understand that you might be scared. And so, We want you to stay. And I think Deja needed that. So
yeah, she definitely needed it. And what was also really interesting about the parallels in those scenes are both William and Deja's reaction to how the house operates is, this house is crazy. Things in this house are crazy. Like, this is not the norm. Both of them were coming from fairly dysfunctional backgrounds, right? And so figuring out that there's a house where these norms are so radically different, and that, there's calm, there's not drama, there's safety, there's security, and all of those things. It's like it's foreign to both William and Deja. And their first reaction to that, frankly, is to flee.
mm-hmm.
Like, that's the reaction, right? And I will say that that's a pretty common reaction, I think, for a lot of kids who are in the system and trying to figure out where they fit, and trying to figure out, is this house safe? Like, I need to understand, how do I survive this particular environment?
Mm-hmm.
And so, we see Deja kind of trying to figure out, trying to get the intel how
Right.
things work. So Randall shares, so Deja learns how the house operates, and it's like, okay, well, maybe this won't be so bad. They have that big talk in the morning where Randall shares some of his own adoption story. Not so sure that, like, I've never done fostering, but this idea that the caseworkers would just leave it to Randall and Beth to tell Deja that her mom is in a lot more trouble, and that her stay in care is probably going to be rather extended. It's not going to be a short kind of temporary stay. So I don't know how realistic that was, but it was heartbreaking for me.
I don't know how realistic it was either, but I do appreciate that they told the facts and didn't try to make it into something that it was. Like, here's just what's happening. It has nothing to do with you, and you are welcome here, but this is actually happening. And Deja couldn't handle it, and she throws the picture down and runs out the room. And of course, Beth raises up like, no, she didn't just throw my Randall's like, okay, and what I appreciate, so this is how my husband and I work also. There will be times when one of us is the person, the calmer person, and there's the fiery person, and it switches depending on the situation. But I see that also happening with Randall and Beth. Like, there are some times where Beth is like, oh no, and then Randall pulls her back, and there's sometimes when Randall's out and Beth is able to pull him back. So we'll see how they manage this new person.
Yeah, I'm realizing I need a little bit more counterbalance in my life, because I'm playing all of them roles at the same time, and sometimes it doesn't come out so smooth on anywhere on the continuum. So anyway, in this episode, we also see Randall kind of trying to figure out kind of where his birth mother is in this constellation of people in his life, and he begins a search for her. And he places an ad for to try to find her in the newspaper. Someone responds, and he goes to the park to meet her. One thing that I really did appreciate about this is that he did tell Kate and Kevin, and they were really supportive of him. This is one of those times where we don't see conflict between them, that they are siblings, and they are ride or die, right? And so he goes to the park and immediately realizes that this is not his mother, because she was white. And
it's possible, but Randall is not a
black.
Yes,
he's black and black.
There is no like maybe possibly like no, you all
no, he's black. And so he realizes that he has been scammed, and he sits there on the bench for a moment, and this woman is like, oh, it looks like you're doing all right, and so do you have some money? And he just rolls out. But the heartbreak of you see he's trying to find connection. He's trying to find his people, and he gets caught in a scam, and it's just really heartbreaking. But I was happy to see his siblings being supportive of him.
I actually hope that this helps adoptive parents have conversations with their kids about their biological kids. Like, there, what this showing is that Randall is having a whole life that Rebecca doesn't even know about, in terms of, they showed him even when he was little, he was looking for people who can roll their tongues a certain way because that's a biological trait, and he's looking for other people that look like that. He's always looking around at people who are Black and trying to see if he sees something in them. And so all of this is happening, and he has not talked to his parents about it. And so what it says to me is that, especially a child is having all kinds of thoughts that we're not aware of. And if we're not making it safe for them to feel like they can talk about it, then they could be getting themselves into very potentially damaging situations.
Dangerous situations. But his whole kind of childhood and adolescence is he's got this second life where he's trying to find himself and his people, and kind of trying to find connection with other people of color, but specifically looking for his mother and father. And it's really important that adoptive parents really think about that, look at this narrative, and really kind of try to figure out how to be open and supportive.
Which is why we have a problem with Rebecca again, because Rebecca, this whole time, Rebecca knew where his father was and could have, stopped some of this angst that Randall was going through.
Yeah, she really could have. So, any parting words on this episode?
I'm interested in how do you think so far they're doing with the older child narrative with the first night?
I think that in my experience, it was very realistic. Something's gonna pop off where, and I mean, I saw some criticism of Beth, like, oh, she should have never touched her stuff, and I was like, okay, but your natural inclination is you have someone in your home, you're trying to help them. It's a child, so it's not like there's a older guest, like where you let them unpack. This is a child, so you help them unpack and kind of get settled and tell them where the towels are and all of those things. And she is mothering in the way that she knows how, and she has to figure out that this isn't hosting. She's got to go from host to mother. And I found it to be very realistic, especially in that first blow up that you have. It's so shocking, and you're like, but what did I do? You just don't know. And it's pretty easy, I think, for a lot of people in the community to criticize her, like she shouldn't have gone through her stuff. And I was like, it wasn't like she was going through her stuff. It was, if she was just being a mom host. And
yes, like, let me get your stuff unpacked,
right,
and put them in the drawers, because you don't know anything about how our house works, right? So we put things in drawers here, you just don't know. So I'm just helping you out, and I don't think that necessarily deserved criticism. You're not going to know everything. And on top, it's not like she sat there and took her bag and was like, dumped it out on the bed. And it was like, okay, let's see what you got in here, because I'm suspicious. That wasn't what her intention was. So
right. And even, I mean, she didn't have a chance to react to finding the cigarettes, right? She didn't have, it was like, oh, huh, okay. And so not only is, I mean, there were, frankly, for me, a lot of things kind of going on in that scene where until you have walked in those shoes, you just don't know. You just don't know. And you also don't know the power of what I think that a lot of families, how sentimental things are, but until you have really, at least in my experience, until you have dealt with a kid who has lost everything, and they only have a couple of things that are blood, sweat, and tears, their connection to their life, what they know as their previous life, you have no idea what attachment to a material item really is.
Yeah.
And you don't know it until you see it.
And then her reaction, saying, those aren't my cigarettes. Those are my mom's cigarettes. And I have them because my mom is coming back. And
Right.
I'm ready. I want, and you see right there the hope that she has. Like, this is going to be just like it is. And her attachment to her mom is strong too. People assume that if the parents are doing things that put them in a situation where they have to go to jail, that kids should somehow stop loving them because they're not a good person. And that just does not happen with children. That is still their mother. And she's like, she's coming back and I want to be ready when she comes and picks me up. And so it also tells you that she's going to have a hard time attaching to the family too, because she's waiting for her mother to come back.
Right.
So.
Right. So, for me, this episode was deeply personal. I saw myself in Randall and Beth, and I saw Deja as Hope. I saw myself in William. I thought it was a great episode, but it was emotionally a hard episode for me to have a big kind of picture view of all of these people in this family and the different things that they are experiencing when, an adolescent foster kid moves in. So you can check out my story under our Addwater thing if you want to see how I was like.
The other thing that made me think about you is her kind of amazement at her surroundings. Like, people live like this.
Yes.
And that made me think about you. And I know that that's some things that you and Hope had discussions about. And that was just a change for her to go from whatever her life was then, and then to come be put into kind of a upper middle class lifestyle. And it's completely different.
Yeah. It's, yes, there was a lot of that. Like, y'all got iPads. Okay.
Y'all rich.
So anyway, great episode. Looking forward to seeing what's next for the show. So this has been our recap episode for This Is Us Season 2, Episode 3. We are trying to live tweet during every episode on Tuesday nights at addwaterinster.com, or I'm sorry, at AWAS Pod. So Mimi sometimes has a class, but you can join me. I'll be tweeting both from AWAS Pod as well as my own Twitter account. But if you missed that, you can certainly subscribe to us and catch the recap later on iTunes, Stitcher, your favorite podcast app. You can check out our Storyfy recaps as well. Check us out on Facebook and let us know what you think about our recaps. So Mimi, where can they find you?
You can find me. You can read my blog, old episodes of my blog at MimiRobinsonOnline.com. You can usually find me live on Facebook and on Twitter at Mimi Complex. And ABM, where can they find you?
You can find me on my blog at adoptedblackmom.com, on the Twitters and Facebook. And so we're usually hanging out there. So until next time, we will catch you later. Be sure again to check us out on our social media accounts.
All right. Bye.